Hunting Big with Steve Bartilla. Brought to you by
those that follow my work real close hopefully saw an episode of Growing Big earlier this year where I was talking about setting up a deer flow. And I was actually setting up a deer flow for a very specific animal, and I was trying to get my Army Ranger buddy Carlton to kill this deer. Well, he didn't kill that one. Instead, he killed one that was even bigger. So what we're actually going to talk about today on Hunting Big is how this dynamic, how it all plays out. And that is, first off, really don't just go out there and slap up a stand because, oh, I think this is a good spot. Instead, figure out as much as possible, all right, where are the deer coming from? Where are they headed to? Why are they headed there? What time of day? How do they come back? Where are they coming back from? How are they entering? The more of that type of stuff we can go ahead and figure out, the better off we are. In this case, I'd actually found one of his bedding areas and his staging area. Back off in the woods on the end of this little point, right at the edge of where it opens up into a more brushy, grassy creek bottom area where he would stage. Okay. Then he was getting up, coming up the point, and heading off to the food plots and then the farm fields beyond. Okay, so there was a natural flow already there, and we went ahead and put it on steroids with some deer food. Then we go ahead and figure out, okay, he's going to be coming from this location and going there. So how can we set up to intercept him? In this case, it was pretty darn simple. It was on a hillside. As you're looking at the maps, you can go ahead and see how all this stuff fits together. And fitting that together really is the key. Don't go, this right here is by far our best weapon. It's not our bows, it's not our crossbows, our firearms, or our primitive weapon muzzleloaders that are doing groups like this at 250 yards. No. Our brains and our powers of analytical and creative thought is our greatest weapon. So we can go ahead and we can take that data and we can find a way to go ahead and set up on them. And we did. First sit in, Carlton, he arrowed that son of a gun. Now, this was not the buck we were actually after. In fact, it was a better one. How did that play out? Well, the buck we were after is either 7.5 or 8.5 years old this year. He's no longer the man. He was, but now these days, he's actually second fiddle to this true stud that Carlton wailed on. Okay. Always remember, when it comes to dominance, that dominant buck, he can go out there and he can have any and everything he wants within the whitetail world because he is the man. He's the man. He's going to take the best bedding. He's going to take the best staging, the best food sources, everything he wants. All right? So, 1 year changes a lot. The buck we were after went from being the man to actually being the subordinate buck in the area. So, the new dominant buck took over his turf and followed the exact same script as the buck before. Now that Carlton has shot the deer, there's no guarantee, but you know what? Odds are pretty darn decent that either another more dominant deer than the one we were after is going to shift in there, or now that buck there is the dominant one again. And he'll go ahead and take over those roles.
Hunting Big with Steve Bartilla. Brought to you by
When it comes to going out and setting up tree stands, don't just set up stands because, oh geez, this is a really good spot, I'm going to set a stand here. No. Ask why. Where are they coming from? Where are they going? When are they coming through here? What are the odds of them doing it again? The more data we can go ahead and put together, the more we can map out a very, very logical and strategic plan of attack. And then also remember, dominance is a very, very significant thing within the whitetail world. That dominant buck, There's a reason he's bedding where he is. There's a reason he's staging there. There's a reason he's using these travel corridors, these food plots, the reason he's checking these does in this way. When he's dead, odds are really, really good that the next one in line is going to step up and fill his void, or a more dominant buck is going to come in and take over that void. But either way, once you get that figured out, that is something you can generally use year after year after year.